On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 2002. We're going to be taking a look at Glen Campbell and Steve Wariner, and they're going to be performing Galveston. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So we're going to be getting Glen and Steve up on screen, and there's going to be a link in the description below to this performance if you want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it, because I am going to jump in about halfway, because there is a lot to look at here, rhythm-wise on the guitar, but also lead-wise, when Glen just lets rip on the fretboard. But let's get Glen and Steve and the rest of the band up on screen and see how they get on.
Galveston, oh Galveston, I still hear your sea winds blowing, and I still see her dark eyes glowing. She was 21 when I left Galveston. Galveston, oh Galveston, I still hear your sea waves crashing, and while I watch the cannon slashing, I just clean my gun, then dream of Galveston. I still see her standing by the water, standing there looking out to sea, and is she waiting there for me on the beach where we used to run? Galveston, oh Galveston, I am so afraid of dying before I dry the tears she's crying, before I watch your seabirds flying in the sun at Galveston, at Galveston. Where's the water?
I'm just going to jump in here before we get into Glen's solo, which we will jump into at the end of the video. But this, just as a song, is a Jimmy Webb composition, and this was a huge hit for Glen, and just the way that he could sing, he could play the guitar, he could just do everything. Being a member of the Wrecking Crew as well, and the Wrecking Crew actually being on this particular recording, having such ability, and seemingly, we're about to get into the solo, seemingly his ability at lead guitar was just at a different level. He made it look really easy, and this is something that we're going to be looking at when we're looking at the techniques, breaking them down. When you start looking at the runs, he's throwing together some of the alternate picking, even doing some arpeggios, sweep picking with the right hand. It is really impressive stuff, so look out for that at the end of the video. But big shout out to Steve for those backing vocals as well. And just a quick word on this composition, the fact that it's quite a somber song, because when you look into the lyrical content, it's got that edge to it, and unless you're really listening out for that lyrical content, because of the major chords, it's sounding a little bit upbeat. We do have that change to the A flat, that key change that takes it to a totally different place before then getting back to the F. But when we do have that key change, we get into a few more minor chords. So if you are going to watch this whole video and click on that link in the description below, you'll see that Keith Urban does mention about the fact he used to listen to this song and didn't really know what it was about until he read along with that lyrical content, which is something that I always suggest to do on this channel. If you're listening to great composers and great singer-songwriters, just have a little look at the lyrical content while you are listening to the song to really dig deeper into the meaning of the song. And that's certainly what you can find in this song. And it's one of those that a lot of people might have thought it's an anti-war song, and you could see it from that kind of angle. But because the subject of the song and Glen taking on that personality in this song, speaking from that first-person perspective, he's wanting to leave the war because he's lost and he wants to go home. And this is why he's singing about Galveston. So just getting into the guitar, first of all, from a rhythm perspective, and just pointing out the amount of chords we've got going on here and how quickly we change from one chord to the next. When we start out, we've got the riff, which is, you know, really nice and straight. Got a little slide up as well, but then we've got this little jump from our B flat to the C to the F. And the important thing to note, when you then go through the B flat, the C again, we then change over to the F major 7th into an F 7th into the B flat, and then we have this little B flat rundown to the A minor, to the G minor, to the C, to the F major 7th again, over to the B flat again. We have the same rundown: A minor, G minor, C, D minor, B flat, C, F, B flat, C, F. And once we've done that, we do the same thing, jumping into the F major 7th into the next part of the verse. So just demonstrating the amount of chords we've got going on here, and the fact that we change chords so consistently, so regularly, considering that we only get a couple of beats on each chord. Very occasionally we will get 4 beats on a chord, but there are such quick changes here that you really have to be on your game to keep up with all the chords. But just from a compositional perspective, it's not something you normally see. There's a lot of songs that will stay on chords for at least a bar or a couple of bars, but here we've just got a beat, and even when we're going down from that B flat, the B flat, A minor down to the G minor, it's all 1, 2, 3, literally one beat to make those changes over to the C, back to that F major 7th, and then B flat, A minor, G minor again, C to the D minor, to the B flat, to the C, to the F. So there are loads of chords in here, and this is before we even get to the chord change that we have when we go into the B flat, C. We've then got this key change, and I wouldn't say it's a key change because it's more like a separate section of the song, almost drawing you into what you think might be a chorus. But it is so difficult to label anything as a dead set verse or chorus here, because that Galveston, the tag word of the song, is used all the time, so you don't necessarily just see that pop up in the chorus. So I'm just going to play along with the performance, playing the chords in the background, and I'll keep it quiet, but just keep an eye on my hand, just seeing how much I move around in order to play all of these chords. Of course, Glen's playing a bit of rhythm and singing at the same time, but just to give you an appreciation of the amount of chords, the changes that we've got in this composition, and we're going to jump in from probably the C into the F, the B flat, F, and into that jump that we have to the A flat.
Then dream of Galveston. I still see her standing by the water, standing there looking out to sea. And is she waiting there for me on the beach where we used to run? Galveston, oh,
then we're back into the verse. And let me stop the video, but you can see how much I'm jumping around just to get all of these chords in there. But let's get back into the performance. This is one of those that could go on all year because we haven't even got into the lead yet, but there is so much involved with this song. Let's get back into it.
At Galveston. Thank you.
And there we have it. Try and pick the bones out of that solo. There is so much technique. Glen was just a top level player, whichever way you cut it. And it tends to be the case that the guys from the 60s, the 70s, especially in country music, they just had all of their techniques down. Alternate picking, it's because of the clean tones. You can hear every single pick, and if your technique isn't perfect, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. This is why guys like Glen Campbell and Roy Clark, another example of guys that were so good on the fretboard and in the right hand as well. That's the thing that will fly under the radar, is the amount of control. So let's just jump into that playing again and appreciate it. I'll try and point out a few things, or at least I will try my best to. Let's have a listen. So we start with this opening lick. Actually, we have this little line that Glen just introduces us into this lick that we have this, and it's just a little repeat of a phrase, pretty much. Like that. Of course, really controlled, super clean tone here, of course. And here, we've got these little picks, and we've got this. There's a little bit of blues scale there right at the end. So we had this. That kind of thing. Let's have another little listen, because there's a lot of notes going on there. It's that. I'm just going to have another listen to this run. Okay, right at the end there, we've got this little phrase that he somehow works in there. So, we've got this. Oh. Kind of like that. And the phrasing's not going to be exactly the same. Trying to get it anywhere close to what Glen's doing is going to be impossible, but this is really top level technical playing that Glen's doing here. So just trying to copy it is nigh on impossible. Let me just rewind it a little bit so we can hear this phrase getting into the next phrase. Okay, so then we're going straight into some sweep picking on the right hand. Again, really technical stuff. And we're breaking out the notes from the chord. So we're arpeggiating the chord here when Glen's playing through that. And it's not like that. It's more There's a little bit of, again, it's the phrasing in there. And he only does it a couple of times, but then we get into the... He kind of does a few slides up again, just... Getting that is really difficult. And then I think he's just started a run. So I'm going to just take it back a little bit to have a look at what's going on. Again, the speed of that. Really, really impressive. Okay, so what was that? We had... It was something along those kind of lines. Yeah, is this, well, that's close. That was it. And then he jumps over to the G. And works his way back up again. We've got a little run down there. Again, really cool stuff here. And that's the same little run, the... What was it that I just played? Can't remember. And then he has a little run down the guitar. I don't think we can actually hear what's going on. Yeah, the guitar kind of cuts out at that point, so we won't worry too much about it. And here we're just... I think he's actually stretching over, maybe with his second finger there. I've got very small hands, so I won't be able to stretch there, but third finger's fine. Kind of like that. And same run there, we had this. But then when he works his way back up, we now get into a little chromatic run that goes up. I've just queued back the video so you guys can see which part I'm referring to. Just that little run there. So we've got that picked notes on that high E string, and each of our fingers we're going to need for this, and then they're pull-offs like that. Shift up 2 frets and then 1 fret, and you want to leave a tone gap between that first and second finger, and I'm not sure whether those are going to be pull-offs as well. Okay, so we're going... So we get into a little run that happens after that. So don't worry about doing the pull-offs on that third part of the phrase. And then we've just got really cool melodic stuff, having this... And when I'm playing through this, it's not an instructional video, so I haven't spent time getting down all of the notes. We're not going to be approaching it like a lesson, but I just want to show you guys the techniques and how difficult they are to master. And a lot of players will never get to this level, and it's not something you just pick up a guitar and you can play like this. It takes a hell of a lot of practice, and Glen would have just sat there and practiced these techniques to the nth degree to make sure that he got them down. We're talking about hours and hours and hours and hours a day. And when you consider how talented he was in other aspects of music, with his voice as well, it's just amazing that he managed to fit so much into a lifetime to get so good at so many different things. When we're playing through this, like I said, we're not getting the notes in exactly the right order, but if you want to have a guide, then we're in F, so it means that you're Your pentatonic shape one will be found on the 10th fret if you have your first finger there, and if you're keeping your fingering very strict, then your little finger will come in on the 13th fret, like that, and that's where you'll find your notes. And you can see how I'm intentionally ending on that F, because that's going to make it sound more in key rather than ending on your first finger, which is not what you want to do, because now it's going to make it sound like a totally different key, and it's going to sound like it's in D minor, whereas we don't want that. We want to keep ending on the F to make it sound like it is in F, because it is. But let's just watch it until the end. Again, really melodic stuff in there. Oh. That kind of thing.
At Galveston.
And there it is, just nailing the end note vocally. And when Glen performed, he's just got such a likable persona on stage, and the fact that he was just immensely talented, but you got the impression watching him that he didn't know that he was so amazingly talented. But this solo is just on a different level. And I've mentioned this about Glen before on the channel. We haven't looked at Glen in quite a long time, so it's great to get him up on screen again, especially now dissecting a little bit of his lead playing, because there is plenty more technique where this came from when you're talking about Glen Campbell. And there's a reason that Eddie Van Halen wanted lessons from this guy. But this is one of those videos that I did say could go on for years, and it probably has. But thank you guys for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!